You got to play the course. What were your initial thoughts? I saw you giving Kale some shout outs on Instagram for the course design. So I'm taking you liked it.
Yeah, no, I think I didn't see I didn't really watch coverage from last year, like when it was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing I knew going into it was the first year I guess it was open, which was 2 years ago or maybe 3 years ago. And it looked like a really cool course, but to me it was like, man, there's not really that much punishment out here.
Yeah.
You can really just chuck it anywhere and kind of get rewarded. They definitely have changed a lot of things, and there's a couple of new holes. And obviously, I got to play with Ezra, and I played with Aaron Gossage today too, and so I got to hear a little bit about like some of the changes and whatnot. But like the big one would be like hole 7 would probably be a hole that you remember where it's a par 5 with water. It's 2 fairways, and there's water in the middle, and pretty much everyone just launched out to the left. I want to say the only person I saw on coverage throw down the right hand side was Matty O.
Mm.
But now they've made that whole left side OB. So now
so force you on the right.
Everyone has to go the right. They have a couple really good, like if you throw it in the water, you just advance to like the FPO tee pad.
Mm.
So it's like a real big problem. They moved. I don't know what hole it is, but you probably are familiar with the par 3 that is like sitting on that brick wall, that cool brick wall.
Yeah.
They moved the basket 20 feet from the water. So now it's a lot of people are going to throw short in the water probably there, or you go long and now you have
a terrifying
30-footer. Yeah. So I think the changes that I've seen and I've heard from, they did really good. I don't know if the grass, if Kale grew the grass out longer, but throwing in the tall grass is a massive disadvantage. It's not hazard. Some holes it might be OB, but a lot of times it's not hazard or anything. But like if you have like a 400-foot shot and you're in that tall grass, good luck, because it's not fun. There's a couple bunkers too that are in good spots too as well, where like if you're in these bunkers, I like it. I like it a lot. Now, obviously, can you score out there? Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be a tournament where 10 under par is going to win it. But I think it's going to give. I don't think hole 7 will be eagleable. 18, I played 3 different shots and had an eagle putt inside the circle for all 3 shots. So that hole is pretty eagleable, and then the other par 5 is not eagleable. So there'll be some fireworks there coming in. The first couple holes are really tough too. So I don't know. I really like it. I think too, it's really professionally done as well. Like
nice.
They've done a great job with making the tee pads look good, having like red mulch around the baskets, which on a golf course just make them stand out so much more, and it's a cool look. So I think aesthetically and how the course is set up, I think it's gonna be an awesome tournament. So this one's cool.
Yeah. I was curious because I remember having a conversation, and I tried going back because I know it was on Grip Lock, and I'm pretty sure you were a part of it 2 years ago or about 2 years ago. Yeah, this was one of the courses that sparked the some of the clips that went viral of is disc golf too easy and stuff like that. A lot of it was from the preserve. In particular, we have a clip. It's one of our most viewed clips on the channel, and the thumbnail, I distinctly remember the screenshot of all the birdies was from the preserve that year. I don't think we were talking about it. Yeah, I don't think we were talking about it in the clip specifically because that was with you, Paul, and Trevor, and we were just talking about par in general. I don't think we were talking about the preserve that exact time, but I distinctly remember that screenshot taking it of the preserve. So that's why I was curious, some of the changes and stuff like that, because obviously something changed up within the 2 years. So that's pretty awesome. And then we also had a good question from Twitter about the course. They said the location is on a former golf course, but it doesn't get talked about as a quote-unquote golf course style. What is the difference? So when you're playing it out there, what's the difference?
Yeah, well, they have a couple holes which I love these holes where and we can get into a little bit on course design of where again like I think we should be throwing to fairways like this. So, if the tee pad's down here, we're throwing to fairways like this, not
Mm-hmm.
fairways like this.
Yeah.
Of where you're just throwing it straight down. They have a couple holes like that, and then hole 7 specifically, the par 5 I was talking about, that one's really cool too because the tee pad's here, and instead of the fairway being here, the fairway's like offset
Mm.
and like a little angled. So you're still having to kind of throw onto something where it's not like a comfortable just straight down shot. I like that. I like that a lot. And what was your question?
Well, just
I
like
just blanked.
they basically were saying it's on a former golf course, but doesn't get talked about as a
Oh,
golf course style course.
yeah. Well, I think they've done a good job of mixing in some wooded holes as well. Like when I'm on that course, I don't really feel like I'm on a golf course
Yeah,
either.
that's what I was gonna say. That's
There's
how it
there's
comes
definitely
across.
there's definitely a couple holes where I'm like, okay, this is where the tee pads were. This is where the greens were. But I think that style of course too is one where like there were a lot of trees and lakes and all those type of things to where it didn't feel like as open as some of the other golf courses. And I think too, just the fact of like it hasn't been a golf course for a very long time.
Yeah.
So like the fairways have kind of grown in. The rough is just now like fluffy thing. So it's like when you look at it, you can be you can look at it and be like, oh yeah, there might have been a golf course here 15 years ago, but it hasn't been kept up. So I think that kind of makes it where, you know, playing on a golf course, even a course like Mulligan's, for example, for Worlds, like that wasn't a good course at all. Like as far as golf goes, like that wasn't a really well kept course.
Mm-hmm.
But even at its standards, you can still tell you're on a golf course. And then also like that's not a course with trees. There's no trees anywhere.
Yeah.
So you're literally playing holes where there's, fairway and a little bit of rough and sand traps and water. And so it really does feel like when you're playing disc golf, it really does feel like you're playing on a golf course. But this one is way more out in the trees, in the wilderness. And so it does have more of a disc golf feel to it than a golf course. And that's where I think too, like if disc golf courses are trying to get more like or more interested on the golf course, I think those are the courses that they should look for. Are ones that have lots of trees that they can incorporate. Even the Portland Open, for example, like yeah, they had beautiful trees and such, but there wasn't really like any woods, if
Mm.
that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
there's still like those trees were like specifically placed there, or you could tell that there's a gap. And out here, it's like some holes remind me kind of Waco, where it's like if you get off the fairway, you're just in the woods.
Yeah.
And so there are golf courses like that, and I think those are probably the ones that you could probably put a good disc golf course on versus a course like Mulligan's at Worlds, where there's no trees out there at all, and all you're dealing with is a little bit of the rough, the bunkers, the water, and the greens.
Yeah.
So
The preserve sounds similar to a course we just played. It was at a North Cove in Marion, North Carolina, and it's a similar situation. It's an old golf course. And I think what I noticed when I was out there that made it not feel like a golf course was like what you were saying, that it hasn't been a golf course in a long time. So the maintenance that was there was just for disc golf. So like the fairways had grown in to where like you couldn't tell where the fairway was and the rough was previously. So it was almost to a certain extent kind of like you were just in a field and like throwing across, and then they just utilized the property versus utilizing the fairways. So a lot of times you were throwing probably what would have been across
yeah,
two or three different holes and through gaps in woods and over rivers and stuff like that, to where it made a very solid disc golf course. And then they did use like old bunkers and stuff to protect the greens and make the pretty much every approach shot you had to think more than, oh, I'm just throwing a basic hyzer here. And a lot of that was the old golf course design that allowed them to do that. And they just got creative with putting, basket locations so that it wasn't just straightforward. But I think that's a big difference
I
is
think,
it's not the maintenance isn't at that golf course level. So you're not seeing,
well,
oh, we're in the middle of a fairway right now.
I think it boils down to like, um, the preserve is a course where the fairways are cut for disc golf and not for golf. Like, I
Exactly.
think
Yeah.
that's the big difference is when we, the Portland Open, for example, we were not playing down the fairway. Like, our holes were playing across fairways, and that's where like you start being like, well, this doesn't really make sense. But the preserve, like when you step onto hole 3, for example, like the fairway is cut for the disc golf hole.
Yeah.
And you really see like, okay, from here to the basket 400 feet away, that's the fairway. And I think that's the big difference is you're on a course that is being maintained for disc golf and for the disc golf holes, and not the other way around where they're maintaining it for golf and then you have disc golf on that same course.
Yeah. Exactly.